let's look at what the president's unprecedented presidential debate means for Colorado. He directed supporters to go to the polls and watch. Y'all are going to be bored in Colorado. Very few people vote in person here. Yet the state's top law enforcement officer is promising prosecutions for anyone who interferes. The president told right-wing extremists to stand by. He's talking to a group that's active in our state. We'll examine what the Proud Boys are up to around here. Then let's hit the road, south to Alamosa, to look at whether Republicans can win back some power at the state capitol. Out west to Gunnison, where teachers get honest about student struggles coming off a 6-month gap. And we'll end up back in the heart of the city for our idea on how together we can make an impact tonight for hungry families. Buckle up, because this is next. Colorado's Democratic Attorney General says he will prosecute any case of voter intimidation that might come out of President Trump's call for his supporters to flock to the polls and watch closely. Now, chances are you show up at a polling site in Colorado and you're just going to be bored because, I mean, we're a mail-in state. Now, the poll watchers who later oversee the bipartisan election judges who count up the mail ballots, that's a thing, but you can't just show up for that. You have to be registered and trained. Our Steve Steger talked to unconcerned county clerks, Republican and Democrat, who really are not worried about the president's plan to crash polling sites.
And Trump,
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully.
Democratic Jefferson County Clerk George Stern and Republican Douglas County Clerk Merlin Klotz do not seem too worried about people crowding polling places in ballot processing centers. They both joined me on Zoom today.
We have election watchers in every single election, and we welcome them. We encourage them. We like when we hear that watchers are coming. We just want to make sure that it's done according to election rules and statute and in an orderly way.
Colorado is different. We've got a tight system. It's very secure. It's known as the most secure place to vote in the country. He was talking in general terms, and it doesn't apply to Colorado.
State law does allow up to one poll watcher for every candidate or issue group on the ballot in Colorado. It requires training from the Secretary of State, and those watchers are generally assigned by the county party or a candidate. Klotz, a supporter of the president, says he's been getting a ton of calls from people concerned about the process who want to do this.
And I tell most of them that if they're interested in an issue or a candidate, they might want to consider whether their time is better spent knocking on doors and watching, because our situation is so secure.
Do either of you have a concern that simply by saying this, that you're going to have some folks show up uninvited trying to get involved in this process?
Our supervisor election judges are trained in how to handle that. They're trained to, encourage them to be in touch with their party chairs or the appropriate parties to get certified, to find those trainings.
If someone shows up that isn't qualified and doesn't know the process, we're not in a posture to just go arrest them or charge them right away for violating election law.
Attorney General Phil Weiser told me in an interview today that voter intimidation is a misdemeanor and that his office would work with local district attorneys to prosecute any cases that might come up. But he does say there aren't any cases in recent memory, and he hopes, Kyle, that won't be the case, or that will also be the case again this year, that there won't be any of those cases. And like you said, with mail-in balloting, it's awfully hard for this to even happen.
Yeah, Steve, another wrinkle this year is just how physical spaces work. Like, you walk into any building and you might see a sign on the door that says this many people at a time, or you're allowed to come in and you're not allowed to come in. How does that work at the polls?
Yeah, that's part of the reason that Douglas County Clerk Merlin Klotz says that he's cautioning people when they call and say that they want to be there, they want to see this process. He says, yeah, get with the county clerk. They have a schedule, because we can only let so many people inside the building, and you already have to have the election judges that are already bipartisan, all the people that work at that site, plus you need to space them all out now because of COVID-19.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. President Trump last night would not reject white supremacists when asked to do so in the debate. And he told the extremist group, the Proud Boys, to stand down and stand by. Or stand back and stand by, rather. The group immediately embraced the president's marching orders, even creating a new logo with his words. Investigative reporter Jeremy Hohola has long been tracking this group's actions in Colorado.
Amen. Amen. They call themselves a fraternity of men and deny they are white supremacists. However, in 2019, I captured this image of Colorado Proud Boys and women followers posing with known local neo-Nazis while they protested at a drag queen event in Denver.
I think one of the misconceptions about the Proud Boys is that it's a white supremacist organization. And certainly there are members of the Proud Boys who hold white supremacist ideologies. They may even be active with white supremacist groups.
Jeremy Shaver is an associate director with the Anti-Defamation League in Colorado, which monitors extremist groups. He estimates there are a few dozen active Proud Boys in Colorado among hundreds across the country.
They really bear more the hallmarks of a street gang. Really, they have local chapters that are controlled, that have local leadership. They, have their members go through initiation rituals.
The Proud Boys deny they are white supremacists while touting members who are people of color. Yet their philosophy attracts men who believe the Western world is under attack.
They are very anti-woman. They're very misogynistic. They are anti-immigrant and xenophobic. They are anti-Muslim and Islamophobic. And then they also hold some viewpoints that are very dangerous for the LGBTQ community, in particular the transgender community.
On Wednesday morning, I was able to ask Denver's head of public safety about Proud Boys. He wouldn't get specific.
For a blanket statement, Jeremy, all those types of groups concern me, whether it's far right or far left. We don't have room in this country or in this city right now for anything far.
For Next, Jeremy Hohola, 9 News.
President Trump was asked about this issue again today, and he's now saying he doesn't know who the Proud Boys are. So when you look at our statewide political picture, Democrats have not had this level of complete control of Colorado state government since before World War II. Republicans' best chance to chip away might be winning back one side of the state legislature. They would need 2 seats if they were to swing the Senate to their control. But Republicans only make up 28% of registered voters in Colorado right now. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger is on the road for us in Alamosa. It's an area represented by a Republican and a Democrat at the state capitol.
The balance of power in the state legislature can only shift if Republicans in the state Senate pick up 2 additional seats. I'm in Alamosa, Senate District 35, which makes up 16 of the state's 64 counties. That's pretty big. It's 1/4 of the state. But it's just one of 35 senators here since they're divided equally by population. And right now, Democrats control the state Senate 19-16. Republicans currently hold this seat, but Senator Larry Crowder is term limited. As we speak, I'm moderating a debate at Adams State University for his open Senate seat. Republicans here need to keep his seat red and hope that voters in a couple of competitive Denver metro area districts switch their senator from blue to red, or it'll be another 2 years of a Democratic-controlled legislature. But Marshall, you haven't said anything about the House. It's not changing. Democrats have a stronghold, 41-24. Including where I'm standing.
What a beautiful office he has today. Our next question came from dozens of you who wanted to know about candidates' microphones and how they work in debates. So the Commission on Presidential Debates is suggesting that it might cut a candidate's microphone in the next debate if somebody tries to do what President Trump did last night, interrupting more than 100 times, refusing to allow the moderator or the opponent to speak. We have never seen a candidate in Colorado behave like that in one of the debates that we've had here over the decades. But to directly answer a question that we received from a number of you, in our upcoming Senate debate next month, we will cut off a candidate's microphone if he violates debate rules and will not allow his opponent to be heard. I'm absolutely confident that will not be necessary, because Republican Senator Cory Gardner and his Democratic challenger, former Governor John Hickenlooper, have debated civilly on our air before, and I'm sure they will do so again. Live from the campus of CSU, October 13th. It is Next Presents Race for the Senate, commercial-free hour starting at 6 o'clock. Marshall and I will moderate. So you have truly made the Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign into a powerful force for good across Colorado. $800,000 raised by Next viewers since June, including $77,000 to fill the food banks of the San Luis Valley last week. So we're going to do something a little bit different this week and focus on the same challenge 2 weeks in a row. because food insecurity is an issue from rural Colorado to the metro area. The word of thanks that comes to mind when I think of Metro Caring is enriching. This nonprofit in Denver is focused on feeding families, enriching food, fresh food, nutritious food, but also in enriching lives with cooking and health classes. And all the while, not just a food bank, they're fighting the root causes of poverty, trying to address the issue that brings people in looking for food in the first place. Metro Caring's leaders pretty blunt earlier this week that they have never seen anything like this. The number of families needing food has increased 3 times over during the pandemic. And with food banks across America competing to stock up on staples, the increased need along with the food supply issues means that Metro Caring says it is spending its annual food budget every single month. It's a good thing that we know some people who can help. Us. As always, text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, and we can help Metro Caring feed families in the metro area. You can also find that link wherever you find Next online. And you know how this goes each week. If you are in for a $5 donation, then I will match the first 50 of those $5 donations. So we came through for hungry families in the San Luis Valley last week in an enormous way. Let's do the same thing this week for families that are struggling here in the metro area. As always, thank you so much.
COVID has exacerbated our need for mental health and more funding.
It's not as simple as just plopping kids back in classrooms.
Their learning is fragmented, so they might remember some parts, but they don't remember the whole part.
We head up and over the Continental Divide to see how a school district there is handling the challenge. Next. As kids begin to fill more classrooms around the state, teachers are noticing something that was probably inevitable. The long stretch of time away has had real impacts on those young people. Our Anusha Roy talked to teachers clear out in Gunnison about what they're seeing in their classrooms.
These 2 teachers in Gunnison County are keeping it real.
It's foolish to think that there wouldn't be impacts to their learning,
especially among younger kids. Liz Mick teaches 2nd grade.
So my 2nd graders really feel like 1st graders right now, whereas traditionally at the beginning of the school year, they have a different kind of maturity.
So how does that play out in a classroom?
They didn't have to write their name on the top of their paper. They didn't have to turn their paper into a basket. None of that was a part of their regular routine.
Lisa Danos teaches high school kids. Students, she says, have found a new appreciation for a thing they may have grumbled about before, just being in class in person.
And they're making the most out of every opportunity they have.
They also know it can be taken away. Gunnison County is in what the state calls the Protect Our Neighbors phase, which comes with the most relaxed rules. The district is reporting fewer than 3 cases since this school year started, but some students are nervous about their safety and their families. Teachers are feeling the pressure too. It's not just in Gunnison County. We talked to the Colorado Education Association for a bigger picture perspective.
Have to prioritize things like students' mental health and well-being, and so all of that together, just means that there could be some learning loss, but we want to make sure that students are safe and healthy.
A responsibility that can fall on teachers, especially while classes are remote and counselors may not have as much interaction with students. Teachers, more so than ever, are on the front lines, watching students via video chats and looking for signs that someone may need help.
So teachers could put in the Google Doc to the guidance counselors. This student they haven't been to class for X amount of time.
Both the teachers we talked to said what they have seen over the last couple of months, more so than ever, has highlighted the need for more funding for mental health services for students. So there's actually this stakeholders group that's going over a whole bunch of different factors for education to make recommendations to the legislature. And one of the things that they are going to be looking at, Kyle, is the impact that COVID-19 has had on learning, especially because kids are going through so many different learning styles right now. So that assessment is ongoing.
Makes sense. New situation, new needs. Anusha, thank you. Mr. Jones and me staring at the video. The video his students made to prove that they remember him and they adore him. And welcome to a state where a cargo carrier atop a limo in the mountains is only kind of weird. The most Colorado thing we saw today. Next.
If it wasn't for the abundant smoke and haze, it would have been a picture-perfect fall day with sunshine and cooler temperatures in the mid-70s. A second front will bring temperatures down into the 60s tomorrow, and that front will push another round of smoke and haze across the urban corridor. We do have air quality alerts that will be posted for many areas, and we'll be tracking the wind way up high. That air quality alert out for much of the day on Thursday. The smoke continues to streak to the south and to the east, and temperatures will be a whole lot cooler, starting with tonight, 40 and fair skies. Tomorrow with sunshine, 69 degrees, warmer 70s heading into the first weekend of October.
The most Colorado thing we saw today is proof that there's never enough cargo space when you're taking a trip to the high country. I mean, especially once you fill the stretch limousine with all of your hiking buddies. And that's why you need to strap the cargo carrier to the roof of the limo. I'm remarkably curious about what is happening in this photo that Charla spotted Saturday outside of Keystone. So back when the pandemic was first pandemicking, we had a nightly shout-out segment here on Next where you could salute some of the unappreciated folks that were keeping Colorado functioning. Janitors and cleaning crews were a hugely popular choice again and again. Now, we never mentioned a man named Mr. Jones by name. He's the janitor at Lopez Elementary, Fort Collins. He's the guy who leads the lunchroom in singing happy birthday for every student. Turns out today was his birthday.
Happy birthday, Mr. Jones! We appreciate you! Happy birthday to you!
Could you imagine being Lauren Jones opening up the message this morning and seeing all those kids again? He's been the custodian at Lopez Elementary since 2014, got the birthday video this morning and called it truly the greatest thing ever. $5 at a time. Next viewers have been making a mountain of difference in our state lately. $800,000 for nonprofits making an immediate impact in our community. And together tonight, we're going to make sure the kids aren't going hungry in the metro area. Let's get after that next. Favorite thing about getting together here every week is that we don't just sit around, we actually do something together. And this week we're helping out Metro Caring. They're a food insecurity nonprofit that says that 1 in 3 Coloradans struggles with hunger. It's a pretty embarrassing number in America, but they are in this fight. They're feeding families in the metro area, and we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with them this week. Last week, you donated an astonishing $77,000 to fill the food banks of the San Luis Valley. This week, text thanks to 303-871-1491. We'll send you the link to join me in donating to Metro Caring and make a big difference on that same issue here in the metro area. See you next time.